Hello, CA warriors. How are you all doing? Friends, today we are going to start with a very interesting topic. But, friends, before that, remember the goal of this video is not to go deep into every single concept, but to give you a crisp, exam oriented summary so that you know what is important and how to remember it smartly. This book and video together will act as your perfect self study partner. And I'm super confident, guys, that after this revision, you will be able to solve any MCQ that come your way in the exam. So let's begin this rapid fire revision session. And yes, if you find these notes helpful, don't forget to share them with your friends. Let's start with one of the most practical concept in microeconomics, that is unit 4, equilibrium price. Friends, this is the point where the market stop arguing. Demand and supply finally shake hands and the price settles. Yes, very interesting concept. Let's start with now where which is a dream of all the economy, a stability of the economy called equilibrium price. Oh, now before we start with equilibrium price, let us understand what is actually price. Friends, price simply the exchange value of all goods and services. Means it is the amount that buyer pay and seller accept. Oh, yes. So now let's move the real hero. Then what is the equilibrium price, or I can say market clearing price? See the name, market clearing price, right? Yes, guys. Equilibrium price is the price where quantity demand equals to quantity supply. Now here quantity demand means aggregate quantity buyer that wish to buy, and quantity supply means aggregate quantity that firms wish to sell. Friends, it is a very dream situation. Every country, whether it is developed or developing or poor, they always want in their country equilibrium. It is a very happening situation where there is no unsold stock remains, no unmet demand remains, means all demands are satisfied, all sellers are also so happy. Now because they're all the goods get sold, no unsold stock, market remains stable, means no inflations and no deflations, ceteris paribus holds. Yes. Now this chapter is actually a combination of demand and supply. Now and in both we always assume other factors should remain constant, means we are comparing this equilibrium market only due to change in the price. So friends, frankly, equilibrium is a point where the market finds actually peace. Oh, let us understand this equilibrium with the help of demand and supply schedule. Friends, if you're going to see blue shade, red shade, and orange shade, in this equilibrium, what economist is trying to explain is whatever may be the situation, equilibrium means seller and buyer both are happy. The basic idea between equilibrium is economists want to say whether in the country instability is there, disequilibrium is there, means might be demand is more than supply, or might be supply is more than demand. Transaction never take place at disequilibriums. Okay, transaction always takes place at equilibrium, means both buyers are ready to buy and sellers are ready to sell only when the price become equilibrium. See, the basic idea is exactly same. It means seller and buyers are actually opposite to each other, you know that, right? Seller always want to sell costly to enjoy the profits, and buyer always want to purchase cheaper but to enjoy more satisfaction. Now, if both are opposite to each other, TK, one party want to sell costly, another party want to buy at a cheaper price, then the transaction will never going to place in the economy. Then the business will not going to run, and the entire economic system will get stuck up. So economist says that there is a one price where buyer is ready to buy and sellers are ready to sell, where buyer and seller both are agree to do the transaction. That price is called equilibrium. Oh, so if you're going to see the table, the blue shade, in the blue shade, First, see how the table has been created. I have written the price. Price is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Quantity demand. Price is increasing, demand is falling, means price and demand have inverse relationship, and price and supply have direct relationship. See, price is increasing and supply is also increasing. Am I correct? Now, in the blue shade, if you're going to see, demand is more than supply. Yes. Now, when the price is 1, demand is 31, but sellers are not ready to sell at so low price, so quantity supply is 6. Now, at price 2, demand is 25 and supply is less. So this market is called shortage market. Okay, because buyers are ready to purchase, but sellers are not ready to sell. So transactions will not going to take place. Now it's called scarcity market or shortage market. You know what economists want to say? When demand is more than supply, always inflation takes place. Oh, because sellers get the opportunity to increase the prices because they're too confident now to sell their goods, all the goods. So whenever there is a shortage in the market, always keep in mind now ticket prices always increases. Prices always increases. But at price 3, which is the orange shade, now demand and supply is equal, right? When demand and supply is equal, it's called a very happening situation. Both buyer and sellers are happy. It's called stable market and it is called equilibrium. No inflation and no deflation. But if you're going to see the green shade, now supply is more than demand, or I can say demand is less than supply. Right now, when the demand is less than supply, means sellers are ready to sell but buyers are not ready to buy. It's called surplus market. It is also not good. Now it creates a deflation. Prices starts falling. So friends, what economists want to say is in the country, in the market, neither inflation is good nor deflation is good. Right? Always there should be a stable market, and which is only possible when demand is equal to supply. Oh, now this table has been converted into diagram also. If you're going to see, demand curve is a downward sloping curve in a red line because price and demand have inverse relationship. I'm on a y-axis, it's price. On a x-axis, it's quantity demand and supply both. Quantity demand and supply both are on x-axis, both are in the same team. And supply is a upward sloping curve. Supply is a upward sloping curve because price and supply have downward sloping, sorry, direct relationship. If you're going to see, both demand and supply is intersecting at this point. Now, this is the orange shade, which is called equilibrium. Here, demand is equal to supply. Oh, now before that, above that green shade, because supply is greater than. Now, this area above equilibrium point, it indicates supply surplus market because demand is, sorry, because supply is greater. Sir, how come you can say that? See, supply is over here and demand is over here, right? Yes, the supply is greater than demand, so it's a surplus market. And below equilibrium, this area, blue shade, it is a called shortage market where demand is more than supply. See, demand is over here and supply is on the left side. Oh, so from the above table has been converted into the equilibrium diagram also, right? Hope you understood what is equilibrium. So happening situation where buyers and sellers both are happy to do the business with each other, and it creates a market stability, neither inflation and not deflation. And you also know, inflation is not good for the economy as well as deflation is also not good for the economy, right? So this was the basic theory, but let's now, after understanding a very small topic, equilibrium price, now you have to apply this logic in the situations. Yes, now in the exam they will going to give you some situations, and on that situation you have to decide whether it's an inflationary situation or deflationary situation, or whether it's a surplus quantity or a deficit. Now, yes. So please understand the basic rule. The topic is impact on a market equilibrium due to change in demand and supply. When demand and supply changes, right, what impacts it gives on a price as well as quantity. If you're going to see the diagram, on a y-axis, price we are considering, on a x-axis we are considering quantity. So we have to understand the impacts, whether they will going to rise or fall. Now, see to it. First, you have to understand, if you want to solve the MCQs, you have to understand two rules. Rule number one, effect on equilibrium. Now, they will going to give you some situations. You have to understand that situation, you have to analyze that situation, and you have to decide when the price will rise, when the price will fall, or when it will remain stable? Okay, yes. So the thumb rule is very simple. Price rises means inflation. It rises only when demand is more than supply. Okay, so whenever they ask you about the price, you have to compare demand and supply. If demand is more than supply, prices will rise, inflation will take place. You have to memorize this thumb rule. Okay, when the price falls when supply is more than demand, right? When demand is less than supply. When demand is less than supply, or I can say supply is more than demand. Okay, when price remains same, when demand is equal to supply. Now, means price stability. Okay, so price impact you can understand only by comparing demand and supply. Again and again, I'm saying only by comparing. If demand is more than supply, shortage market, price will rise. If supply is more than demand, surplus market, price will fall. If both are equal, price will remain constant, no change in price. Okay, so this is the impact on price. You have to, keep in mind rule number one. Now, rule number two, effect on equilibrium quantity. You have to also consider effect on quantity. Now, for quantity purpose, means again, given situation, you have to read the given situation, you have to understand that case, and you also have to give a conclusion whether my quantity will rise or my quantity will fall. So how we're going to decide this? Now, in this, we don't have to compare demand and supply. Now, keep in mind, students always get confused. For the price, for to understand the impact on the price, you have to compare demand and supply, and you have to draw the conclusion which is greater and which is lesser. But when you have to understand the effect on quantity, you don't have to compare quantity and supply. Reason being, quantity, demand, and supply both are in the same team. Both are on x-axis, right? They are not opposite to each other, while quantity. So just keep in your mind, quantity will increase only when demand rises or supply rises or both rises. Oh, yes. If there is a, if while reading the question, you come to know that demand is increasing, or you come to know that supply is increasing, that means you understand that price quantity will increase. So, but both are increasing, then also yes, because demand and supply are in a same team on an axis and both have same impact. Acha, when the quantity demand will fall, when the demand fall or supply fall or both falls. Okay. So if fall in demand, fall in supply. See, I'm not doing the comparison. I'm just seeing that pattern, whether they are increasing or falling. Okay, sir, we understood. So both rule 1 and rule 2 understood? Yes. Now on the basis of rule 1 and rule 2, you have to solve these MCQs. So there are three patterns of questions which they can ask you in the exam. See the patterns. Now, type 1, any one out of demand and supply will remain constant. Now, the information which they will going to give you in the question, out of demand and supply, one factor will remain constant. Okay, see how we're going to judge it. This is the situation given in the question. You have to understand the impact on equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. Let's understand one by one. Please see to it. We have to apply. For equilibrium price, you have to apply rule number 1. For equilibrium quantity, you have to apply rule number 2. That's all. Now, see, first situation, they are saying demand is increasing, supply remains constant. No diagrams required. Okay, in your module, they have explained you the effects of equilibrium price and quantity with the help of diagram. No need of diagram, it's a waste of time. I'm just giving you rules, short and crisp. So demand is increasing, supply remains constant, right? What impact will be on the price? First, for price impact, you have to compare demand and supply both. So when I say supply is constant, demand is increasing, that means demand will become greater than the supply, because supply is constant but demand is rising, so demand will become greater, so price will rise, inflation will take place. Okay, rule number 2, for quantity you have to refer the rule number 2. For quantity, I don't have to compare demand and supply. I just have to analyze both the things independently. So supply is constant, means no impact on the quantity, but demand is increasing. As I told you, if demand rises, supply rises, or both rises, quantity will rise. So if demand alone is increasing, then also quantity will increase. Oh, so your answer will going to be increase and increase. Yes, in the exam, four options will be given: increase, increase, decrease, decrease, increase, decrease, decrease, increase. So accordingly, you have to tick mark increase, increase. Okay. Second, see to it. Demand is decreasing, supply is constant. Now, supply constant, but demand is falling. Am I correct? Any one factor is constant. Now come to the price. Let's understand the impact on the price. Supply is constant, but demand has been fallen. So supply will become more than demand. Sir, how come? Supply is constant. Yes, supply is constant, but demand has decreased. So because of demand decrease, supply automatically will become greater. Oh, now, so when supply is more than demand, in the price you have to do the comparison, it's a surplus market, price will fall, deflation will take place. Okay, equilibrium quantity. Guys, demand is decreasing, right? For quantity, demand and supply, you have to check each situation independently. Am I correct? Yes, so demand is decreasing. So when demand is decreasing, now quantity will also decrease. Quantity will also decrease. So this is the impact of type 1. Hope you understood the type 1. Yes. Now come to type 2. Both demand and supply changes. Yes, little bit the level will increase. Now in this topic, both demand and supply is changing, but with quantity, of course, they will going to give you percentages. Oh, this percentage is called quantity. So let's understand. Now, same technique, nothing is changing. For price, you have to take you have to consider rule number one. For equilibrium quantity, now it's rule number two. Okay, so demand increases by 10% and supply increases by 10%. Demand increases by 10%, supply increases by 10%. Both are increasing by 10%. Let's understand what will be the impact on the price. Guys, price will remain same. Why? Because both are increasing, but both are increasing by 10%, so both are equal. No one is greater, no one is lesser, so price will remain constant. Oh, now quantity, obviously, now price demand increases by 10%, supply is also increasing by 10%. Now, when both are increasing, of course, quantity will increase by 20%. Sir, how come 20%? Because increase means plus plus, so both are increasing, so double effect will going to come. Oh, now second, see each and every situation is something different. Demand is increasing by 20%, but supply increases by 5%. I've given the diagram also, but it's my request. Don't go by diagrams, always go by the rules. Okay, don't waste your time in the diagrams are a bit confusing, but I've given the diagram because in ICI module it is given. Now see, demand is increasing by 20%, but supply is increasing by 5%. Now understand equilibrium price. For price you have to do the comparison. Demand and supply both are increasing, no doubt, but demand is increasing more greaterly, so demand will be more than supply, price will increase, inflationary situation will going to be there. Quantity, when both are increasing, quantity will increase by 25%, plus 20 and plus 5. Okay. Hope you got it. Yes. Now, third, demand and supply situation. Demand increases by 10%, supply decreases by 10%. Now, see to it over here. Something again new. Demand is increasing by 10%, but supply is decreasing by 10%. Impact on equilibrium price. For equilibrium price, again, I am saying you have to do the comparison between demand and supply, which is greater. Demand is increasing, supply is decreasing. So obviously demand is more than supply. Demand, oh, sorry. I'm changing over here. Let's understand the increase. Demand is increasing and supply is decreasing. So price will increase. I'm just change the situation. Price will increase. Am I correct? Okay. Now, next, uh, for the quantity, you have to do the comparison. You don't have to do the comparison. My demand is increasing by 10% and supply is decreasing. So decrease is minus, plus minus, quantity will remain constant. I've just changed the situation. Now, whatever the printed, the effect was same. Oh, it will remain constant. Yes, it will remain constant. Okay, but again, fine, I'm just rubbing the situation, I'm repeating the situation as per printed information. Demand is decreasing by 10%, supply is also decreasing by 10%. When both are decreasing, so demand will be equal to supply, price will remain constant because both are decreasing, so after decrease also both will remain equal. And when both are decreasing, minus minus, so demand will quantity will also decrease by 20%. Oh, now see the opposite one, which is more challenging. See, demand increase by 10%. Again, the same point I explained you earlier. Demand is increasing, supply is decreasing. So for price, you have to do the comparison. Demand is more than supply, price will increase. And when I say demand and quantity will remain same because demand increases, it is plus effect, and supply is decreasing, minus effect. So plus 10 minus 10 will become 0. So quantity have no impact. So quantity will remain constant. So this is how you have to solve the second situation. I've given the name type 2. Okay, now type 3. Again, something more new concept, something more a different angle. Now here in third type, both demand and supply is changing, but without quantity. Okay, without quantity. What do you mean by without quantity? Without quantity means quantity is not given. So in third type, there are only four situations possible. That is demand increases, supply increases, demand decreases, supply decreases, both are decreasing. Either demand is increasing, supply is decreasing, and demand is decreasing, supply is increasing. Only these four situations are possible. And you know what is a unique point in this? In the third type, you cannot decide equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity both simultaneously. No, any one you can decide at a time. Oh, another will be cannot be determined. So how come you can say that? Now come over here. I'll explain you the logic. See the first situation. In first situation, demand is increasing, supply is also increasing. Am I correct? Both are increasing. So what will be the impact on the price? Now, to understand the impact on the price, you have to do the comparison, right? So quantity is not given. I will not be able to judge whether demand is greater than supply or supply is greater than demand, right? Both the situations are possible. Hence, price cannot be determined. So how come cannot be determined? See, when I said demand is increasing and supply is increasing and quantity is not given, so three situations are possible. See, demand is increasing, supply is increasing, but might be supply is decreasing, supply is increasing, but comparatively lesser. So in this price will fall. This is also possible. The demand is also increasing, supply is also increasing, but supply is increasing greaterly. So price will rise. What I'm saying. Price will rise, here price will fall. And yes, third situation is also possible. Demand and supply both are increasing but equally. See, in all the three situations increasing, and here price can remain constant. So quantity is not given. These three, all the three situations are possible. Hence, it's better to write cannot determine. But yes, quantity you can find out because both are rising. So quantity will rise. Oh, logics. Now, demand in the second situation, demand is increasing, supply is decreasing. Demand decreases, supply decreases, right? So price cannot determine. Same again, three situations are possible, right? Both are decreasing, both can be equal, both are decreasing, but demand can be greater, both are decreasing, supply can be greater. So price cannot determine, but yes, because both are decreasing, quantity will decrease. In third situation, demand is increasing, supply is decreasing. Now, so price can be determined now because demand is rising, supply is falling. So demand is more than supply. So price will rise. But now quantity cannot be determined. So but now quantity why cannot be determined? Guys, it's very simple because three situations are possible. See, demand is increasing, supply is decreasing. Now it is possible that demand increases, supply decrease lesser. So quantity might increase because increase is greater. Net effect will be increase. Yes, it is also possible demand is increasing but very slightly quantity, supply is decreasing greaterly. So the impact might be fall will be greater because supply is greater. Yes, it is also possible demand is increasing, supply is decreasing, both are equally, so quantity may remain constant. Oh, now in fourth situation, demand is decreasing, supply is increasing. Price can be determined because demand is decreasing, supply is increasing, so automatically supply is more than demand. Price will fall, but quantity cannot determine. So these are the three types on which you have to actually judge when the equilibrium price increases, decreases, or when the equilibrium price quantity now fall or rise. So this by this, I have completed the impact of price and quantity in the situation, right? Hope you understood the equilibrium concept. So I can say that guys, equilibrium is not just a point, it is a market truce between buyer and seller. Hope you understood this short and crisp explanation. So that's it, my dear students. This was your quick revision session. Simple words, clear concept. Now there is no room for confusion. If you understood everything in one go, say yes, sir, and give it one more quick revision. Remember, smart study is the best strategy. Keep revising, stay confident, and believe in your preparation. And don't forget to tell your friends that these notes are total exam lifesaver. Stay consistent, stay motivated, and I will see you in the next rapid fire revision.